Hello guys, welcome. A little bit about me, first of all. I am software engineer and security researcher in Promon. I am one of the engineers that we discovered vulnerability called Strandhog. And in this speech, I'm going to talk about what are the best practices of app shielding, but I'm not going to be that boring. I'm going to dive into one specific attack that can be performed and the social engineering behind it. So just shortly, what is app shielding? So first of all, the code must be obfuscated, and this is to protect against static analysis of your code. So the hackers cannot take advantage of your application during runtime via knowing which methods to hook for or look for. And anti-tampering is basically protection against your application's repackaging, and so that they are not published in other Play Store or other app stores that you don't know of, and then they can take advantage of your application's features. And basically, also, we do real-time app monitoring, and we basically protect the application against all sorts of attacks. These attacks includes hooking frameworks, native code hooks, and more high-level, it includes screen readers, screen mirroring, keyboard, and everything in between. So in the RAS protection, we might also have anti-debugging protection, and also to secure your strings such as API keys or user secrets, we might have key storage. So let's dive into my specific part that I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about accessibility services. Most of you probably know what accessibility services is. Does anyone doesn't know? Yeah, accessibility services are basically there to help impaired users so that they can get a feedback after they touch their screen. And most common accessibility services or famous accessibility services are Android Accessibility Service and Google Talkback. But lately, we have heard so many bad news about accessibility services can actually be really dangerous. Sorry. So we made a research, and then we concluded that we made a research in top 100 financial apps in the market, and we concluded that only 8% of these applications, financial applications, have security against accessibility services. So that's really a concerning number in our view, considering how dangerous it is. So how dangerous it is, we are going to get into that. Here I have a small demonstration. So what just happened? Basically, the accessibility service, after enabled, gave all the permissions that application can have, and then it basically injected itself into the device. So we will see here very slowly what just happened and the logs. Basically here, as you can see, it's scanning the screen. It's searching for objects called accessibility.info, which has attributes that your views have. Here, it's searching for word allow, and then it's basically injecting the click onto it. And then going to SMS permissions. You can see my inputs here. and then it basically gave itself all the permissions that it can give. Yeah, I could extend this, but the presentation had to be shorter. So in the next example, we will see what it can do more. It can basically, as I told you, scan the accessibility node infos to get the data. However, that means it can also read your screen and what you're inputting. So this is my bank app. So as you can see here, it can also log that you're actually deleting some data, but you're correcting it afterwards. Yeah, I could make the passwords shorter. All right, so I obtained the passwords. In addition to that, in the previous slides, I obtained the permission to SMS. And that means I can read your SMS. I can log into your account. But do I really have to do that? Do I really need your passwords in order to send money to myself? Yeah, that's for you to answer when I can inject the clicks. So let's go to social engineering part of it. Obviously, I need to convince user, I'm a good guy, please give me this permission, right? And basically, these accessibility service malwares go into the user's device as innocent features applications, such as PDF readers, password managers, you name it. If the user had a rooted device, I don't really need to ask user anything, and I will show you that later. And exploiting feature promises. If the user is looking for something that goes beyond what Android can give, they are basically hacking, right? And then I can exploit their need to inject myself into their device. So let's go to innocent feature promises. We also permission dialog, or we all have permission dialog in our app. So basically, what's happening here is that I need to provide you this feature so that I need accessibility service. A user like you might know that, yeah, no, you don't need accessibility service permission. Why you are asking me that? But the average user is actually falling for that. And that's really dangerous. OK, we got into the routing part. We all have rooted our device at some point. Basically, as an app, what I have to do is run this code, and I have your phone. Basically, I'm sending a shell command to settings application here. Nothing, no rocket science. So let's go to another feature promises that are exploited by itself. In the internet, there are many applications that can be considered as hacking for game or for anything else that you can name. Here, I demonstrated the attack by just writing a Python script, but I don't really think it would be appropriate to write it into app in the DroidCon conversation. So you can do this by accessibility service very easy. So in this game, this is a bot, by the way. In this game, there is a monster killing. So I read a bot about this. And fortunately, this game, luckily, had some protections against that. But as you can probably see, it's not very good quality, but you can probably see I'm generating some random numbers here. Why I am doing that? Because this specific app was checking where exactly I click, how many times I click, in which frequency I click, so that they were detecting the bots. And I just bypassed it by just generating random numbers and adding them to pixels. Easy. However, there is a very, very easy way to actually detect this. I will mention this later. Yeah, it's basically killing monsters here. Not really that important. But I am sure 99% of you could do this on your own. So how do we protect against that? In our app, we are not interested in protecting the whole device. What we saw in our research in the market, the one that I talked about in the beginning, 8% of the applications protect against that. What are they? So they are setting their view attributes to not important for accessibility. Okay, I can already see some people are actually not liking it. So this is very easily bypassable by the accessibility service itself. And this is very bad protection. The second one is hooking each view and then setting their accessibility node info to null. And this is harder to do. It requires, from Java point of view or Kotlin point of view, it requires a lot of reflection. And it's fully protected, because after that point, the system cannot populate your accessibility node infos anymore. And then you are basically sending, rather here, broadcasting nulls all the time to accessibility service. We recommend to implement this part, this mitigation, and then only this mitigation is enough. However, we run into problems, of course. On Android 7 devices, there was a method called onto this accessibility node info without checking it if it was no. This was in the system code. So it was basically crashing the application. But we were okay with it because we are protecting against very strong attack here. So lastly, we will talk about detecting and blocking injected inputs. What you would do is go through each click of the user and check the attributes. The attributes contain something called type virtual input. And then this will give away every virtual input that user puts. This includes ADB commands, accessibility services, remote control devices, and everything in between, everything you can think of that's virtual. But injecting clicks into emulator, well, touching the emulator is also virtual input, so you have to be aware of that. So this is all from my side. Any questions?